time to armor up and level out. Listen up and hear what we're about.
Welcome back to Armor Gym. Josh here with Coach Owner Dusty.
Hey, man.
Welcome, sir. It's good to see you, as
too.
always.
You too.
It's an interesting time. Back school just started, or maybe it was even, I think it was this week, this Monday, for most.
Yeah,
right.
Full swing.
And that's included. That's not just collegiate. That's pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
Back in the game. Sports have started if they haven't already. And that poses some interesting challenges for folks like us in the fitness industry. We hear a lot of time commitments have come up, things have changed, and people are a little strapped when it comes to how much time they have to dedicate to fitness.
Yeah.
That's where this conversation comes from. So you and I were going to chat about what's a bare bones sort of program. Maybe I was doing 5 days a week, but now I got to do 3. So we're going to put some parameters around this. But I wanted to ask you to give us a top contour, bare bones program that you would set up for somebody looking to general physical preparedness that only has 3 days a week to train.
3 days a week.
3 days a week. And we're going to say that the session, we won't go through each and every session in terms of like every single thing it needs to have. But I do want to have the main components that you want in there. Again, 3 days, and they have to be in and out in no more than an hour, hopefully a little bit less. Yeah. So this is for somebody, they're struggling with school schedule, whatever it may be. You tell me how you would structure that, what you want it to be around for general physical preparedness.
What I think what I would do is 3 days a week, I would do one day that was like a push-pull.
Okay.
Maybe have a superset that day, and then I would have another day that was a hinge.
Okay.
And then a squat day.
Okay, so let's take that. Let's say we were going to train on Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yep.
So if I'm somebody who can only train for about 45 minutes to an hour, 3 days a week, on Monday, you said you're going to have me do a push and a pull.
Yep.
Okay, so if you're watching, you're going to write that down. Monday, I would do a push and a pull. Give me examples of what that's going to look like. It doesn't have to be a forever and always,
and
but what would it be?
I think that's what I love about that one too is all of them. You can mix and change. You could do a little 3 to 4 week cycle of where it's maybe you're benching for the push.
Okay.
And then it could be a pull up for the pull.
Okay.
And then let's say after 4 weeks, you could change that to an overhead press.
Okay.
And then some type of like a bent over row or something of that sort, where you're working different angles and variations.
Okay, so you're thinking of challenging the same sort of musculature but in different vectors.
Yep.
And you're talking about almost like a conjugate method, whereas I'm running it for 3 or 4 weeks, and then maybe I back off intensity a little bit and then change the exercises to something else. So like you said, if I was doing a pull-up for the first 3 to 4 weeks, then maybe on the next 3 to 4 weeks, I do like a bent over row.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
For the hinge, it could be a deadlift for that 4 week period.
So my primary work on Monday was that push and that pull. Then we get to Wednesday, that's my hinge day.
Yep. My
primary focus for strength on that day, again, we're talking general physical preparedness, is going to be a deadlift.
Yep.
Okay. What else could it be?
Well, I like to change the different types of deadlifts. So
okay.
It could be conventional for 4. It can be sumo for 4. It could be an RDL.
So maybe exactly that. So for 4 weeks RDL, 4 weeks regular or conventional deadlift, 4 weeks sumo deadlift, and then you can just kind of keep going through that.
Yep.
Okay.
Squat. This
is Friday.
Yep. Fridays could be and you could easily change those days.
Sure. Sure. The days aren't necessarily special.
Right. But it could be a back squat for 4.
Okay.
A front squat for 4.
Okay.
You could maybe alternate and incorporate the SSB bar for 4, just give you a different variation. Same thing on the deadlift. It's like use a trap bar for a little bit. There's just that's what I enjoy about training.
Yeah, the variety of it.
Yeah, you don't have to box yourself in because it's a big wide world out there.
That's very true.
And for your strength, it's like you can typically, if you prioritize maybe the first half of the workout is dedicated to the strength, so that can be, depending on how long the warm-up is, 20 to 30 minutes, then which is going to leave you another 20 to 30 minutes for some either accessory work. And that's something else that I would, if there's a lift that you're really trying to improve. So maybe for that 4-week period, I'm doing some, I'm wanting to improve my deadlift. I'm incorporating some single leg, dumbbell RDLs.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So like if my deadlift day, my hinge day was on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So would that be the same day that you would program those same lifts?
Maybe what I would do is maybe start the session out with some of those. I like to use them to just kind of prime those muscles that I'm getting ready to use in my primary lift.
So prime a bilateral movement like a deadlift with a unilateral movement like a single leg RDL.
I love that.
Okay. What is it about that I like it too. Well, what is it about that you like that?
I think like what I found is I just feel so much better when I go to that lift, that bilateral lift.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it also helps you just kind of identify sometimes you won't recognize those little nuances and imbalances in that bilateral stance. So it's like you get into that unilateral and you're able to really kind of focus on that one side that you start to realize like, hey, I got some instability here or whatever it might be. And so it gives you even more things that you can kind of
now if you're not you said that if you're trying to get your deadlift to go up, like that was more of almost more of a focus as opposed to a GPP thing. Like you're like, oh, I'm cool where it's at, or versus like, I really want it to go up. Would you still do the same thing? So if you were just like, I'm cool with where it's at, I just need to work it in there, would you still use the accessory work that's a single leg, or would you go to something else?
No, I would. Another one that maybe you have pain. Maybe when you deadlift, you've got, you deal with pain, or you've had a history of pain, and you, for whatever reason, associated that with when I squat, my knees hurt, or whatever it is. Yeah. I think that's where you can also, it's an opportunity to try to figure out, well, why is that? Maybe when I pull straight bar from the ground, that setup position tends to like aggravate my back. Well, what if I change the start position 2 inches? Mm-hmm. Do I still feel the same thing?
Yeah.
And so there's all these different little
or like you're saying, and a lot of times what we'll do is strength balance testing, which is, okay, great, you can deadlift 800 pounds, but when you try to do a single leg, all of a sudden that right leg doesn't feel like it's playing along. Right. There's your asymmetry that's probably creating a lot of the problem if you would clean up the asymmetry, or like you said, even just starting with it to get all of the motor neurons to fire the way that we want it to actually work, takes away that issue. Yeah, that's real smart. Okay, I like that. So if you said that you'd have accessory work,
I would pick one. I would do one day, where there was some accessory work.
Okay, one day.
And if that 4 weeks, it's some lower body accessory work to maybe help improve the deadlift, then so be it. Maybe the next 4 weeks, I'm doing some upper body accessory work.
Would you do the lower body deadlift on deadlift day? We kind of talked about that, but then does that also mean you would do the upper body auxiliary work on the upper body day that we talked about, push and pull, or what does it matter?
I personally, I prefer to do it on the same day. Yeah. But I think you could definitely easily incorporate it in. On a different
Just make sure it's there, but maybe experiment with how you feel recovered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that's always one that you can kind of, depending on what your goals are, that's interchangeable. Then, the other 2 days, that's where I would try to incorporate in some just aerobic work.
Okay, so we have those. That would be concurrent training where we would do both at the same time. So we'd have our strength, and then sometime after there'd be some sort of conditioning that comes after that. Okay, so let's preserve it like you have it. Yeah. So we have our push-pull day Monday. We have our Wednesday days a hinge day with auxiliary. We have Friday, which was our squat day. Yep. On Monday and on Friday, it's concurrent where we're going to have it to be conditioning also. Yep. So what would the conditioning look like on Monday?
I'd probably...
and it could just be broad.
Typically it would be, I'd say the push-pull day, because that's a superset. That one is maybe where I would incorporate like a little bit of a longer 15 to 20 minute like conditioning piece. Okay. And if you're doing like zone 2, maybe it's longer.
It's even longer than
but
that.
If it's got some intensity to it, I would try to hit something in that like 15 to 20 minute range.
So we wouldn't consider zone 2 intense. So we'd say that because it's less intense, we'd probably do 20, 40, something like that.
The time domain. And then that squat day, I would say typically those days tend to take a little bit longer just because of the weight is heavier.
Totally.
So that's where you'd maybe look to incorporate something shorter.
So
maybe
can
in like
diminish your total time in the gym.
12 minute range.
Okay. What would an 8 to 12 minute conditioning piece look like? Would that be intervals of something like 30 seconds on, 90 seconds off kind of thing? Is that what you'd probably put on Friday?
Yeah, it could be. It could be an AMRAP.
Okay, got it.
I think anything where, you 2 to 3 movements where you can keep the intensity up.
Okay.
Pretty high.
So we're talking couplets and triplets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something that you could, but you can, you could sustain and push hard for whatever that time domain is.
Yeah.
But I would say, something shorter, 8, maybe 12 minutes max.
Yeah.
And you can have some fun there as far as like the movements that you put in. I would encourage you maybe pick one thing that you're good at. One that you would like to get better at, and maybe one that you just absolutely hate.
Give me an example of if I was listening to this right now, right? Like, and I'm the guy that's like, I need to do that.
Yeah.
What would Dusty's workout be if it followed that model on your Friday workout?
Well, I can definitely tell you the one that unless
you
programmed it in,
yeah.
Thrusters would not end up on my list. So if I'm picking the one that I don't want, it's the thruster.
Okay.
If you don't know what the thruster is, imagine a front squat that you come out of the front squat immediately into an overhead press.
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the worst movements there is in terms of
especially if you do it fast.
Yeah. Oh,
I would say if you do it, it doesn't matter fast, slow. It sucks.
100%. So that would be the movement you're not particularly fond of.
Yeah.
Okay. What would be another movement?
I'd probably one that I like you want to get better at, but it's whatever. It's probably like the bike. Bike or
and it's low impact, so you could have a movement that's
something monostructural.
Yeah. Okay. So we got a bike. We have a thruster.
Could be a run.
Do you prefer a barbell thruster or dumbbell thruster?
I think they're both good.
I do dumbbell if I had a choice.
Yeah, I probably would if I had a choice.
If I had a choice, yeah. If I was trying to make it easier on myself, I'd do dumbbell.
Yeah.
I feel like the
that's
barbell.
Why I
on
would
the
probably need. That's why I need you to say no. It's a barbell.
Okay. What would your third movement be?
Probably something that I'm good at. That
well, right now you have you have a W, you have an M, and then would you put a G in there, or would you do another W? How would you work that? So weightlifting, monostructural.
Yeah, I probably would throw a gymnastics movement in.
Yeah,
so it could be like a, I don't know, bar muscle up, something fun.
Okay.
Bar muscle up, ring muscle up, could be a pull up.
Okay. Okay.
So
toe to bar maybe, something like that.
I've kind of got the push, on the thruster. So
yeah, okay, I like that.
So yeah, I'd probably throw in like a bar muscle.
Okay, give me some reps so we can.
So I'd probably on that one, if I'm writing the workout, I'm definitely gonna go for the 8 minutes instead of the 12.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, we'd go with 8 minute AMRAP. I'd probably go like a. Maybe.
How about you tell me what 15, you would do, and I'll tell
12,
you what I would do.
Let's see, an 8 minute AMRAP. I maybe go like a 12-9-6. So maybe like 12 calories on the bike, 9 thrusters, and 6 bar muscle ups.
Oh, I like that. Okay, for 8 minutes.
That's
stout. You're gonna get it.
I hate to say that, but yeah.
I like that. Okay, I would do. So if I use I love those movements. So if I did that, I would say I'd go with the classic 5 bar muscle ups to start, 10 dumbbell thrusters, 15 calorie bike as fast as you can. Then you got to rest for half the amount of time you worked.
Okay.
That's what I would do. So there's your challenge. You got 2 workouts. Try them both 2 weeks apart.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Okay. So then what would the Monday 20-minute look like if we didn't do a zone 2? What if could there be something else that would make sense on the Monday workout that was a little longer? Because the one we just described is much more of a sprint.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Monday, like something longer and that I like is like just a chipper, It's like you maybe more movements. You
Yeah.
add in more movements.
Yeah. 100 calories on the bike.
Maybe a
100
little
calories
less
on the row.
technical.
Yeah,
Just because you're moving for a longer time domain. Something that you can just kind of stay with.
200 steps
Put your
on a
head
farmer
down.
carry.
It could have some box jumps. Just things like that. But I would definitely encourage them. Incorporate some plyometric stuff in, like.
Got to jump.
Yeah, you need to.
Yeah,
it
gotta
could
jump.
be double unders.
And we would both agree that that every population that is not currently injured should be jumping of some
100%.
sort. Yes.
Yes.
The only way that we know of, that I'm aware of, that I believe the studies tend to suggest. I don't want to say we have never done the studies, but that the studies I've looked at seem to suggest, and other people that reference quite a bit, is it's either weight training to add bone density or it's jumping to add bone density. And those are really only two things that we see to show in the studies. So that's probably, again, if you're of the nature that you can, there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
Now, so we talked about the meat and the potatoes of that workout. We had the strength, we had the auxiliary, and we had the conditioning components of it, because we're looking for general physical preparedness specifically.
Yeah.
What does the bookend of that workout need to look like? Meaning, how much time should I dedicate to a warm-up, if any? How much time should I dedicate to a cool-down, if any?
Well, I think I would try. I think you can get a good warm up and cool down. I think in anywhere from like 5 to maybe 8 minutes.
Okay.
So, especially if you've got a plan, I think it takes longer when you're trying to figure it out.
That's
but if you know what you're doing, you can get in and get moving and be like feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
In a 5 to 8 minute range. I would say the most common thing that I see though is, especially when people are doing strength work, is the lack of intentionality with rest. When you start lifting, especially if you're moving higher loads, people just tend to be checking boxes, and they do one set, immediately put more weight on, do another set. So I think that's.
You think they're
it
skipping
tends to be a little
sets
bit
in
more on
between?
that when you're a little less experienced.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Just to move through it, to get it done.
Yeah.
It's like strength training. Slow it down. Be intentional with the strength training.
Yeah.
And understand like how we get stronger. We need to increase loading.
Yeah.
So the intent would not be to lift what you did last week,
Yeah.
but to lift a little bit more
Yeah.
than what you did
in
last
a perfect
week.
world, that'd be great to keep that going.
Right.
Yeah. And you don't do that by starting out with what you finished at last week. You obviously add a little here, and you do it in such a
incremental process. So I think it's just the intentionality, on the strength training, where that's where you can over program your workouts. You're trying to get too many things.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
In to where then you kind of rush through, or you skip things because of the time.
Yeah.
I think like it's important to warm up. It's important to increase the blood flow, get the heart rate up. And then it's equally important to cool down. You shouldn't come off the last set and walk out the door to your car.
How would you recommend a really quick cool down that goes into that?
I would just go right into some like a few stretches.
Is there one that you like more than another?
Man, I love saddle. Like I love to just hop down in that and
Yeah.
just kind of stretch. And then I love to do some like land on my back, some trunk twist. Just
That's the truth.
and
then
it's
breathe.
also in a passive position. Like
and breathe.
I'm relaxed. I
Yeah.
can kind of get my breathing under control. Gives me a chance to just kind of recenter and catch my breath. Before you're headed out to whatever it is. Work. So I think that's important, just to kind of it's like you said, it's the bookend. It's like the finish. It's not when the workout's over. It's really when the cool down is. And it could be even walking on the treadmill. You know, like that's a cool down.
Yeah, or bike with breath work.
Right. So I think all those things, and the important thing is that you can change it. Like that's what I think. Switching things around every 4, 6, weeks or so, it just keeps you interested.
And we don't have the adaptation where it starts to become stale.
For sure.
We can start to jump up and have that little bit of a difference of training effect. And again, we need to watch just jumping from program to program.
Yes.
That probably doesn't really work either. But the novelty of something new, whenever I switch to something new, I'm always super motivated to go in. I've been doing this for 22 years. And it's like, oh, this is new, even though I've probably done that exercise a million times.
For sure.
But it helps keep you coming back.
It does. And understanding that the repetition of things is how we get better.
That's very true.
But you need that.
Yeah, very true. But there's a way to program it, and then there's a way that it might be a little self-defeating.
Yeah.
I like that bare bones approach to a back-to-school workout, or just anybody strapped for time, 3 days a week. Yep. We started with about a 10-minute warm-up. Then we went to strength, push and a pull, a hinge pattern, and then on our third day we had a squat pattern. We had one auxiliary a day in there. And then we had 2 days of conditioning, one short, one longer.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dusty.
It's good, man. Thanks.